Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mistica here. I know it's probably been a while, but welcome back to Cupid, a visual novel. So we're going to go ahead and continue where we last left off. As I've stated, I know it's been quite a while since we've last uploaded. It was just a mix of things going on, to be honest with you, as to why I wasn't uploading. One, internet was being a little crap. Two, there was finals and a semester, and I definitely had to focus on that for certain. But also, I will admit, though, the weird thing going on with apparently YouTube and the interesting changes the site has taken, also, it kind of, I don't know, got a little depressing to want to really feel motivation to even continue playing. But the good news is, finals are over with for the semester. I'm finding the time to go ahead and pick this up again, and hopefully we will get back into it. So here we go. Last where we left off. Let's see what it says here. Rosa entered the room with a tray of pastries and a pot of tea. Her duties were finished and she was allowed a bit of free time. She thought of accompanying Catherine for today's piano lesson. Kath, do you want some tea? Oh, so we have a nickname for Catherine. The girl didn't look her way. She continued to churn out the bitter, melancholic sound from her piano. Rosa sighed, her shoulders slumped in defeat. She placed the food on the table. She sat on the stool beside the piano, twiddling her thumbs while her friend continued to stew in her foul mood. Is that a new composition? No words. It sounds nice. No words. Nowadays you make a new piece every day. It's a shame they're all so sad. Catherine didn't reply to that, but when she spoke again, her words were bitter. Oh, okay, so here we go. So I'm guessing this is like a flashback sequence. And Catherine looks... she looks a little older. I don't know. I guess it depends on how many years have passed by this point. I saw them again. Those degenerate louts. No shame at all. Kath. Alright. Consenting damn adults and all that. At least have the decency to close the door. Sometimes I dare say that they want to get caught. Yeah, mouths cooperate, sheesh. When I walked in on them this morning, eating each other's faces, they had this look on them. Like they were daring me to say something. Coy, do they want my applause? Very nice technique, sire. I very much like the way you swapped your spit with my sister. Great tongue action. Très merveilleux? I'm sorry, I don't speak French. I'm guessing that's French. And he even has the gall to speak to me? Be a dear and put them on the table, Catherine, he even said. Like I am a soft-headed giggle mug of a maid. He wanted me to get annoyed. I just know it. Well, fâchée I am. Catherine turned to the tea and pastries, stuffing the buttered bread into her mouth. Easy there. These damn things. These damn delicious things. She said the last part angrily, as if she blamed her troubles on the food's relish. Rosa giggled in spite of herself. Catherine wiped her mouth in mock anger. What are you laughing at, wench? Ouch. It's almost comical to watch you eat when you're angry, Kath. You're like the giant monsters that attack defenseless towns in horror books. Oh, yes? Catherine made sad, tiny squeals and picked up another piece of bread. No, no, please spare us. She adjusted her voice and boomed out a roar. The Catherinian monster of the deep doesn't show mercy to anyone. She dropped it in her mouth and chewed, savagely. Yum. Annihilation is delicious with tea. The two girls giggled. Catherine's rare smile turned into a rueful laugh. And soon Rosa felt her mood turning somber again. What happened anyway? Aren't you annoyed by it too? Sister has changed ever since she started helping in the chateau. Now it's all Gilme this, Gilme that. As if she wasn't already married. Ugh. She doesn't even care that people are talking behind her back. They're calling her a two-timing slut now. I'm tired of running around picking fights with gossipers. She hasn't even visited home for a long time. Father misses her a lot. He always asks about her. Father had worked so hard all these years just to give us a comfortable life. Now he is sick, and all she cares about is that dastardly Marquis. Rosa shrugged. I am a little bit annoyed, but I guess I've gotten used to it. Their lives are their own, Kath. She didn't dare divulge more than to Catherine, but it was partially true. I like Gilmay. He's a nice friend. But I love my sister. If they want to stay together, then why not fix this and have at it? But what irritates me to my damn snatch is the way they are with each other. Catherine recently found the use of explicatives endearing in her speech. Rosa hoped it was a phase. Sure. They're fucking miserable. Any half-wit can see that. Yes. I told Emily time and again to smarten up. She's hurting a lot of people, including herself. But as if she would listen to her 16-year-old brat of a sister. Oh, okay, so Catherine's 16 at this point. Even Gilmay's depressed. I can tell. Remember when you used to come and visit us here to have tea? Or when we used to have picnics in the afternoon? We used to run around chasing rodents in the garden. You ran around. We just watched you get dirty, actually. That is very true, you knitheads. Back then, it used to be fun visiting the chateau. Nowadays, we barely even see him. He just stays in his burrow all day, brooding. Is this something adults subject themselves to, like a torture ritual? I really don't understand why two people who are clearly unhappy keep at it. Rosa did understand. At least some part of her did. She couldn't exactly explain how pain and love worked. All she knew was that it had something to do with an absurd, obsessive amount of hope. She felt Mother tugging at her mind. She loved Mother so much. Living with the Paradays gave her ample comparison to her former life. She had finally accepted that Mother was cruel, and yet Mother still gave her love and kept her from wanting. Was that crazy? Perhaps it was the only love she needed. Perhaps it was what she deserved. Rosa shook the thoughts off her mind and just shrugged. I know you're just worried about your sister, Kat. But they will figure it out. Humans learn. Look at you, all profound and shit. You read any good books lately? Just the riveting account of the Ugly Duckling and Baa Black Sheep. Ah, the classics. I don't know how you put up with it, though. I hate reading words. I hate reading words, so I guess she prefers reading music then. In order to write, I have to learn how to read first. I want to write. Why would you want to do a dastardly thing like writing? Why would you want to hit some crazy strings until your fingers bleed? The two friends laughed again. I want to remember things. I want to write them down. But most of all, I want to feel the way you do when you play the piano, Kat. Oh? The way you look when you play, your passion and bliss in musical form. It feels like love, like magic. You inspire me to do something fulfilling and grand. Well, I'm sure you will. Hey, why not write a play one day? Oh? Let's do it. You write an amazing play, and I shall provide the music. We'll travel around the country and perform. We'll make lots and lots of money and gain lots of followers. We shall be known as the Parade Caravan of Wonders. Okay. Parade? Are you sure? Puns are the best, trust me. It sounds darn batty, Kathy. Ugh. From this day forward, nobody's allowed to call me Kathy ever again. The sound of a knock interrupted their giggles. Catherine, it's me. I need to discuss something important with you. Of course. Frustrated, Catherine pouted at the sound of her sister's voice. She turned back to her piano and began to pound a sarcastically happy tune. Yeah, very, very interesting change from before. Rosa stood up to open the door. Hello, Rosa. Madame. She had seen little of the older Paredes sister recently, and it astounded her how old she'd begun to look. Her once radiant face looked tired and harrowed, almost crone-like. Under her eyes hung huge bags, and yet she still looked quite dignified, full of pride and pomp. There was extra rouge on her skin, and her demeanor was elegant. It was as if pride was her only source of nourishment these days. Do we get to see what she looks like at least? Do you mind giving Catherine and me a moment of privacy? Rosa gave a small bow. Of course not, madame. Rosa gathered her nursery books and squeezed Catherine's shoulder before stepping out of the room. Well, okay, I was hoping we get to see Emily in her older age, but I guess not. At least not right now. Rosa entered the quiet room of the library. She was about to approach the table when she noticed Gilmay, already occupying a seat. He was writing something in a book, someone immersed in the activity. Rosa stopped dead in her tracks. Okay, so we got leave now while he is not looking, child. Just go in and ignore him, child. I say we just go and ignore him. Maybe it might get a little more information as opposed to us just leaving. Why are you so nervous anyway? Just ignore him. He doesn't seem to notice you. Unfortunately, Gilmay lifted his head and saw her by the door. Oh, hello, Rosa. Rosa took a step back. Maybe it was best to walk away as if this were a mistake. But wouldn't that be rude? He had already seen her, after all. But she had never been alone with him. It was just too awkward. Well, why not just go in? It was going... Okay, if I would have known this was going to be that big of a deal, I would have chose the decision for us just to leave. Well, why not just go in? It was going to be fine. They had conversed normally before. Yet, that was because Catherine had been around to disperse her awkwardness. Now I look like an idiot. Gilmay watched her pace in front of the door in amusement. Rosa decided to go in. She had already embarrassed herself enough anyway. There was little left to lose. Besides, there was nowhere else to go in this big house. She had already gotten lost in its hallways, much to the annoyance of the maitre d'. The library was her favorite place. If she stayed quietly in one corner, Rosa was sure they wouldn't bother each other. She took a seat at the farthest corner of the table and opened her book. Oh no, he's actually standing up and walking over? Well, that's just great. No, you horrible man, just sit over there while I sit over here. But Gilmay was already beside her, peeking at what she was reading. A cold sweat spread on her... sorry, my throat. It's bothering me. A cold sweat spread on her scalp. On her scalp? Okay. Rosa, that book. Rosa began to chatter nervously. I know it's a children's book. Sure, I'm teaching myself to read. I know most commoners don't really bother, but I want to learn. So please don't laugh or mock me. Gilmay pointed to the book. It is upside down. Oops. Rosa stared at it. The ducks in the picture had their feet up in the air. Rosa squirmed, feeling the heat on her cheeks. She couldn't think of anything more embarrassing. I'm sorry. Gilmay's face lost its cheer. What do you need my forgiveness for? Rosa looked up at Gilmay. His eyes lacked the gentle glint they usually had. It was such a subtle change, something felt rather than observed. She thought he would reprimand her further. His face certainly looked like it. Instead, he sat down beside Rosa, drumming his fingers on his cheek while he watched her wordlessly. Well? Weren't you going to read? What was wrong with him today? He didn't seem like himself. Had he eaten something bad? Oh yes, that's the reason. The aura he exuded was not his usual friendly warmth. Yet it wasn't particularly wicked. The look on his face just read, slightly and eternally miffed. Rosa turned the book upright and read the words out loud. That is the U with a short sound. It is pronounced like this. Gilmay made the sound. his face still in his lazy stare. Rosa nodded and continued. Her nerves were frazzled, but she was actually at ease in his presence. She felt like a child being taught by their parent. The parent was strict, but still caring. And the child was jumpy, but eager to learn and please. Most of all, he would not hurt her for her mistakes. Rosa was almost sure. There lived, the past tense of live. Why do we change it? It is a rule of grammar that... Grammar? Gilmy narrowed his eyes at her. Do you even know your alphabet? Rosa shook her head. You should start there. Gilmy rose from his chair and disappeared amongst the shelves. He left behind an old thick book covered in green felt. This was what he had been writing in earlier. It looked tattered and worn. The pages laid flat on its side so that the book didn't close properly. Rosa reached out to peek at the cover when... You are not to touch that. Rosa's whole body froze at the sound of Gilmy's warning. Gilmy's stare followed her even as she whispered numerous apologies under her breath. I'm sorry. Gilmy just rolled his eyes. You are always seeking forgiveness for everything. Am I? I'm sorry. His hand struck the table in front of Rosa. Sheesh. In the quiet library, the sound rang uncomfortably in her ear. When she looked up, Gilmy's face was looming severely above hers. He moved closer to her, his eyes fixed on her intensely. Rosa's mouth hung open. She struggled to say something, but her wits were like the burning ends of a matchstick. Before she could compose herself, she felt Gilmy's hand lift her chin. Oh, okay. Rosa's heart thumped loudly inside her chest. Please don't. Not you too. She felt his breath on her face, and her heart sank into despair. Mother's voice resounded in her head. In the end, they are all the same. He is like everyone else. She shut her eye and prepared herself for the worst, like she always did when... Then she felt her face being turned from side to side. She opened her eye to see Gilmy studying her face like a textbook. You are a fairly attractive girl. Why do you carry yourself as if it is a sight? Or a slight. Oh, sorry. Wait, why do you carry yourself as if it is a slight? Oh, okay. He lifted the hair that hid her damaged eye. Rosa clenched her teeth. Is it because you were hurt before? He said it so matter-of-factly, like he was stating that sky was blue. Rosa recoiled from his touch. No. I did that to myself. I wasn't talking about your eye. He placed the book on the table. It was a thin pamphlet filled with letters. There were lines on the book that instructed the user to trace letters with their quill. Rosa wanted to focus on it, but she could feel the truth in the Marquis's words stinging her. It was the way you went limp when I touched you. Next time I advise you to fight back. If you don't want to be touched, then you don't have to be. Do you understand this? But I am weak. Says who? His eyes were humorless. The world cares not for people who think of themselves as victims, Rosa. If you need power, then be powerful. To have it, it is necessary to crush things along the way. Rosa flinched under the weight of his stare. She realized that the polite and courteous Gilmy was but a facet. Oh no, sorry, mispronunciation there. It was still him, but it was nothing but an oil portrait, an artwork of his devising. Synthetic, aloof, and irrelevant. It couldn't capture his essence in a few human strokes. Suddenly Rosa realized he was powerful. Who are you? She caught herself before saying it aloud. You are not Gilmy. And yet, he spoke to her as if he knew what it was like to hurt and to fear. If you don't start acting like you own yourself, then people will not hesitate to take everything. He laid out the rest of the books he had brought out. One was an activity book for children. It had pictures of a child holding an apple with an arrow stuck in it. Another was a book of limericks. The other two were thicker books that intimidated her. She would come to know them as Hamlet and Paradise Lost. But the one that caught her eye was an ornately designed book. It had a beautiful red jacket with delicate gold trimmings lining the corners. The Gods and Goddesses of Roman Mythology. This would be her favorite book, her treasure, and she knew it like love at first sight. These books are yours. Take them with you. Read the thin ones first, and then gradually build your vocabulary with the thicker ones. Rosa ran her hands over the skin of the red book. She opened the cover gingerly as if carefully unwrapping a present. Thank you. No thanks needed. I simply showed you some books from a portion of the library you were unaware of. You are still so generous, even if you are like this. Like what? That. What? Somewhat irritable. Gilmy didn't reply, leaving an awkward silence lingering between them. Then he gave a giant laugh that made Rosa jump out of her skin. I too look damn irritable, don't I? Why? Is it because of Emily? Gilmy's eyes drifted away. No. I've always been... You just pointed it out. But you're not usually like this. Especially with Catherine and the townspeople. I find it easy to adapt to people, especially to the ones I like. Gilmy looked at Rosa as if he had just become aware of her presence. Makes me wonder why I'm so stern with you. I'm sorry. Rosa shook her head. I somehow prefer this side of you. Gilmy cocked his head to the side. He brought out the green book that Rosa noticed earlier. This is called a journal. When you learn to write, start one. What is it? Something you can use to remember yourself when you've forgotten. Does it work? It used to. Nowadays, not anymore. Oh. The act itself is the only thing I remember. Now, let's start with your vowels. Oi! Jesus! Holy crap. And that stopped. Okay, okay. Sorry. A scream pierced the halls of the chateau. It was Catherine. Gilmy sprinted to the door, Rosa not far behind. And now what? Back in the piano room, Catherine took a shaky step towards her sister. She wasn't moving at all. Blood dotted the ivory keys. I didn't. It was an accident. Emily? She's overcome with the urge to approach her sister and shake her awake. Make sure she was okay, but it was a nasty fall. Emily. Catherine saw the way her sister's head snapped back as it collided with the sharp corner of the piano. Ooh, ouch. Okay, so that's sounding kind of painful from what it's being described. She watched it all like a series of photographs in her head. She had to check on her, but her feet refused to move. Instead, she began to retreat into a corner. She didn't even notice her legs were moving until her forehead touched the wall. She didn't want to turn around. Oh. Hello, Emily? Her sister was on the floor. Her eyes were still open and blinking. It was an accident. It was nothing but an accident. Was it? She pushed first. She got really scary. She strangled me. What? That's absurd. Are you sure? Would she do that? I don't know. I think she did. Catherine touched her throat. It felt fine. That Paredes girl, Emily, is it? She really believes just because the Marquis took her in, that he's interested in her? Well, she's obsessed with the master. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Wasn't her mother a bit, you know, not right in the head? It probably runs in the family. Emily had looked mad. Her eyes had burned with malice for her as she had closed her fingers around Catherine's neck. But she couldn't remember if that had really happened. Sister was always kind to her. She would never ever hurt her, even when they got into fights. Sister loved her. Okay. Am I turning mad? I have the blood of a mad woman. Am I going to end up like her? I only told her the truth. Gilmy doesn't care for her. And she doesn't even care for him that much either. It was all just chaff, the relationship. No sense trying to make everyone else miserable too. But she called me jealous and a cunt. Ouch. Eesh. She has never called me a cunt. She said they have decided to send me away. My lessons sent home. The piano replaced. It was for my own good, she said. I don't have to travel here all the time. I can concentrate on my other endeavors. I can make new friends. But I know she just doesn't want me near the chateau or Gilme. She hates it when I catch her with him. Perhaps this morning was the last straw? She hates it, but she also smirks at me when I see them. Like she basks in it. I think I might hate her. Okay, well, this, okay, so this is getting interesting. And, how long have we been recording for? About 26 or so minutes? Okay, I think we're gonna go ahead and stop right here. I know I'm leaving a little bit on a cliffhanger, but let's be honest, this game has a lot of reading in it. So, maybe for certain, it seems to me that probably this has something to do with maybe why Catherine chose to end her life, but I guess we will figure that out next time. Like I said, apologies for stopping this point, but like I said, we don't want to make these too long. So, despite the kind of scary moment there at the end, if you enjoyed this episode, you enjoy it so far, you guys know the drill. Like, fave, subscribe, all that good stuff. And with that said, I will see you guys around later. Bye.